my god, I haven't done a sit down video in a while. I've been scripting all of my videos and it feels really embarrassing or nerve wracking to come on camera. I haven't literally spoke on any of my Instagram stories or even on YouTube, like face to face. And it feels like I've lost my words already. So bear with me, but I truly felt like it felt more real to come on camera this week. There's been so many things that I've learned in the past month. I don't know about you, but February has just been a really crazy month for me. Not only in terms of some personal situations, but also just mentally. It's felt very exhausting, and I had a lot of fears and doubts that came up. If you don't know already, I quit my job at the end of last year to pursue my dream of building my own art studio business. I think to make a decision like this, like you have to be a little bit naive. Like you have to know that you are jumping into the unknown. But the thing about any big life decision like that, like I'm changing careers literally, is that you don't really know what you're getting into until you get into it. There is this big idea of me wanting to build an art studio business, but at the same time, there's like the day to day situations of getting accustomed to life without having people around you to work with, or being in the house like all day by myself. I do go to the gym, but I would say like getting out once a day for a walk or to the gym is probably like my most social thing that I'm doing at the moment. And most of the time, like being around the house, working a lot on the computer by myself, or just even painting by myself and developing and getting used to that new routine, I feel like it's an adjustment in itself. I took the whole month, I think, of January, nearly a whole month of January and a little bit of December, like off from posting anything on like YouTube or Instagram or TikTok. And I've just sort of allowed myself to take a step back and reflect and review where I want to take myself like this year in 2025. And that was a really grounding experience. There were things that I found that were really helpful, like building a routine every day and just making sure that my vision is aligned to the strategy and goals that is also then translated back into my day to day life. And all of those practical stuff, I think is important. But what I also want to talk to you about today is how we can handle like the uncertainty, or at least how I'm handling the uncertainty in my life right now, because it's a huge thing. And when it comes to chasing your dream or starting your own business, I don't know if I've heard as much about the mental exhaustion that happens as much as I've heard about the physical exhaustion. Like, I expect to work hard, like physically. I expect to be painting more, editing more, and just, being consistent with being online, showing up online, but also showing up offline with my studio practice. So that is my ultimate goal for myself this year. But I feel like that physical exhaustion is almost something that I can handle more so than the mental exhaustion that was happening to me a lot this month. And this mental exhaustion came in ways of feeling really, really doubtful and really, really scared. I had, thoughts every single day of this uncertainty because right now I personally feel like I'm in the season of building and working hard and proving even to myself before I prove to anybody else. And sharing myself online in this way is literally public failure because everyone is seeing the stats. You are seeing the stats. And as much as I put so much energy and so much effort and love and thought and care into everything I do, when I publish it, it's not up to me because the algorithm takes a toll on its own. And I try to make sure, to the best of my ability and my understanding, that, all the SEO stuff and title, thumbnail, captions, all that stuff is to the best of my ability at the moment. But when it's published and when it's out there, like the numbers and not judging yourself from the numbers is something that I'm really working on. And knowing my worth because of my artistic practice rather than what the numbers tell me and show me, I think is really important. But still, I'm human, so it happens. So dealing with that sort of, I guess in a way, failure or setback is hard. The thing about this is, when I quit my job, I didn't expect the world to shake. I didn't expect, the world to stop because I quit my job. If there's anything I've realized that me quitting my job is literally only the beginning of the journey. And it's only February, but my mind is already, way ahead because I see the vision for my life. I see the vision for my art studio and my art practice and my paintings. But there were a lot of things that I had to accept. My skills with my paintings, I wanted to improve on before I could feel confident to market and sell, which I don't at the moment. And as much as I think all the external forces might ask, if you were doing something like me, are you selling? What are you doing? Because people are interested, right? People are curious, and that's very understandable. But also, I think it's important for you to take a step back and be like, okay, like where am I at right now? And for me, that was where I'm at. Like this level of storytelling that I want to tell with my paintings is just not there yet. And I don't feel confident to sell straight away because the reality is I haven't put in enough hours to make me feel like I am a confident artist. That's just my personal journey. So I don't think you should also compare yourself to me. With all of that in mind, I decided to go back to art education and start a yearly long art program. This is me feeling like I was taking a step back because I thought it was clear. I thought that I would be just working on painting collections and I would be posting about my journey and stories of the paintings and all of that stuff on YouTube and on the other social platforms. And I thought that was going to be my entire year. But realizing that I was going back to education and that was actually what was the right path for me right now was kind of hard for me to admit. It was my decision, but it was still a hard thing to admit. And it took me a good couple of weeks to get my ass up and start preparing for what I needed to do for that to happen. Another thing that was always in my mind was I'm not earning. I'm literally not earning anything right now. I am not selling things actively at the moment. And I think that is a really, really hard thing to confront because if you're not seeing the results yet, and if you've taken the biggest risk of your life, all of that together, plus you putting the best effort that you can, plus it being early days of this journey, all of that put together means sometimes I have those days where I feel a bit low, not 100% myself. And that's when the doubts and fears and questioning and all of that starts to kick in. But it's important not to listen to them. And I've just been trying to accept these feelings, and it's really just hard to sometimes just accept your feelings, whatever is coming up. No matter how horrible I feel, I do something that I think is going to move the needle a little bit forward, whether it might be making a short video, making these weekly videos, painting something, preparing for my art program, tidying my studio, something that I feel like is in alignment with my vision, in alignment with my goals and where I want to be in the future. That actually has been taking the mental pressure off of the uncertainty that really is my life at the moment, is helping me to accept where I am and take the journey one step at a time. And it's interesting because I just tidied my art studio and I prepared like this little cabinet with all the materials and organized and threw out all the crap from many years ago, like in this little corner. And I realized how sometimes it's the momentum, whether it's small or little, that will keep us going. And I also realized that it's a journey. Why not just try and enjoy it to the best of my ability? I have so much time right now, and I was driving the other day and I saw some cafes and I saw health food stores, and I love all that sort of stuff. And I literally was like, it's 11 a.m. I could just go in a cafe and just enjoy a nice hot drink, or just pop into a shop even if I don't want to buy anything and look at natural ingredients and natural foods and stuff like that. That actually really relaxed me. This is what I think Julia Cameron calls in her book The Artist Way, an artist date. And I think if you are a creative and if you're an artist, it's important, I think, to actually romanticize a bit of this unpredictable journey that as an artist I feel like we are on. And I think also, even beyond that, even if you work a 9 to 5, I think it's important to romanticize a little bit of it, because that's going to help us enjoy the journey and enjoy the process. So I'm going to do a little bit more of that, take myself on artist dates and do the things I've just said to you. And it's just those sort of things that I feel like I was prohibiting myself to do, just because I haven't reached this goal that I've set for myself. The goal is still valid, the goal is still there, but just because I haven't reached it yet doesn't mean that I should spend all my days like worrying about whether it's going to happen, what's going to happen, how it's going to happen. And I went through like a huge personal change 3, 4 years ago, from 2019 to, I would say, about 2021. And during that time, it was a lot of internal and external shifts. When I look back over how I handled that situation, I realized I just threw myself into the process, and I threw myself into the feelings of whatever I was experiencing in that moment. And I just tried to be curious about where this journey was taking me. It's important at this stage, when I, me, you, we are still working hard, proving to ourselves, proving to other people, learning new things, adapting to new environments and new schedules and routines. I think it's important for us to give ourselves some grace. Don't let other people rush you, because trust me, ever since I announced to even my immediate external environment, even online, and also even getting mentors and coaches, I feel like people will advise you, as they say, from the experience that they've had and their preference and their opinion. And I think our role and our responsibility is to listen, not just to dismiss it, but listen, but then also think like, okay, what is actually right for me right now here? What is it that I can actually do? Because I feel like that part of what they said is actually what I'm not doing that I want to be doing. Or is it that, their opinion is making me feel rushed or making me feel unsteady? There are some advice that I feel like you get which is honest, hits straight to the chest, and it's hard to hear, but you know that it's the right thing to do. And there are other pieces of advice where it hits to the chest and it's honest, but at the same time, it's not right for you. And I think it's important for us to be able to distinguish those. That's why I'm so passionate. I feel so passionate about this message. The thing about all of this is, because I come from the perspective of the personal development world, because I did personal development and growth and all of that stuff like a few years ago. Part of my ego, I feel like, it's like this go-getter, boss lady, I can do anything kind of attitude, where I feel like, I need to do X, Y, and Z to be productive. There's input, get it done, and there's output. That's sort of like straight line kind of thinking. And there's the other part of me that's like an artist who is also writing poetry and, sometimes just looking at some clouds and thinking philosophically. And That part of me is meditative. It's the part of me that allows me to come up with really good ideas and execute something that I feel like I'm really passionate about. And sometimes those two things are always either competing with each other or kind of screaming to me at both times. And I'm learning how to balance those two egos of mine, because I think it is important to have daily routines or have clarity on your day. And artists can feel so driven by our pain because our art is what allowed us to come out of painful situations. But at the same time, we should not be driven by pain all the time, not running away from what you're afraid of, but running towards what you really want in life, and running towards like the goodness that does exist within us despite the pain and despite the hard situations we might have gone through. So it's important, I think, to be strategic, but it's also important to accept the journey for what it is and take it a step at a time. Yeah, I'm trying not to, listen to a lot of external and internal voices that is not benefiting me right now, because this is such a huge decision for me in my life. I've never done anything like this. That if I listen to voices of doubt or fear, or mainly doubt and fear, because there's so much happening in the world right now, and it's crazy economically, socially, politically. There's so many things happening. But are we in control of any of that? No. And I think sometimes you and me, us, we doing our best every single day towards whatever we're working towards is probably going to benefit the world in a longer term period, maybe not in the shorter term period, but in a longer term period, than listening to those voices of fear and doubt and constantly reminding ourselves of it and constantly reacting to that. I don't think that's going to help me, and I don't think that's going to help you. So, yeah, I hope this gives a flavor of what's been happening, but also how I'm dealing with it. I don't know the format of how I want to take these videos on YouTube in the future, because I'm going to be putting a lot of focus on my art program, where there's going to be a lot of painting time involved. They're expecting us to do like 20 hours minimum a week of drawing and painting, which is the most that I've ever done in my life. So I'm going to be having that on focus. So it might be that I shoot these throughout the week and I have a voiceover sort of type video where I just share what I'm learning and the journey. Vlogging for me is really hard. I feel like it's also really hard to edit afterwards. Even this sit down videos are really much harder to edit than something that I've scripted and shortlisted. Those are actually much better because there's a lot of work in the front end, but the editing is so much easier. Just sitting down and editing can sometimes be like the hardest bit. So bear with me and thank you if you are still here in this little community. And if you're still listening and watching my videos, then I really appreciate it, because this is the hardest times. I remember I was one of the entrepreneurs of our times right now that I look up to also is Alex Hormozy. I don't know if you've heard of him, but look him up and you might be very much inspired like me to work hard and go for your dreams and never give up, that sort of vibe. He said this really, really, for me, like heartfelt point, because I felt so seen in that moment when he said it. He said, in the early days, there's mainly you cheering for yourself. There's very few people who cheer for you in the early days when you need that cheering. There is very few numbers, very few people who are doing that. And these hardest days are the most difficult ones to push through. You see the fame and success and popularity of many of your favorite, I don't know, creatives or entrepreneurs or creators out there, and they've most likely gone through that stage, which I feel like is where I am at right now, it's really hard to be seen, and that can be really difficult sometimes to manage my emotions. Finally, you will see people cheering for you when that's probably the moment of culmination for you. Like it's like seeing a finished product, a finished painting, people cheering for you, but people not cheering for you when it's like the messy horrible stage because everyone's confused. Very much so, it makes sense, but I feel like this is my part in this journey of showing up when there's very little views, or showing up when I don't feel the motivation to do it, or showing up because I just want to get better at painting. And it's not necessarily that I have a crowd watching me in this studio, watching me paint, or a lot of eyes on me online, like, interested in what I'm doing currently, hopefully in the future. But I'm here because I want to make my dreams a reality, and I want to show you that they're possible. And also, I want to prove to myself that I can do hard things, I can take risks. And if I have taken this risk and I have come out of the other side still intact, but have grown as a human being, then I think that is a huge, huge win. I think who I become on this journey is going to be as important as where I get to on this journey and how I get to on this journey. So, yeah, I hope you are doing well, and I hope that my journey also inspires you to take risks in your life. I'm not saying massive risks unless you want to, but just in little ways, whether it might be pushing yourself at the gym, running an extra mile, or putting yourself in situations where it's just like, I am completely out of my depth, because that's how I feel right now. And I'm really nervous to start my art program. I haven't picked up a pencil to like sketch tonally for many years. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next video.